Hello everyone and welcome to Birdhouse Adventures in Art. My name is Drew Colby and I make hand shadows. That's my job. How cool is that? Well, today I'm going to tell you a story with hand shadows, and then I'm going to show you how you can make some hand shadows and maybe even tell your own story. Now, you don't need a lot to make hand shadows. All you need is a wall and a light. You could use a torch like this big one. Or a torch like this small one. You could even use a mobile phone light. That makes really good shadows. But remember, never look into the light because the light might be very bright and it might hurt your eyes. And most importantly, your light has got to be a very, very small little light bulb. You can see there a tiny bulb. The only other thing you need is for the room to be a little bit dark, because the shadows need light and dark. Now, this is a story about Anansi. Have you heard of Anansi before? Have you met Anansi? Oh, he's a very interesting character. Anansi is a trickster. He's always tricking people and animals, and sometimes the people and animals trick him. Now, the tricky thing about Anansi is that sometimes he's a spider, but sometimes Anansi is a man. So you could say Anansi is the original Spider-Man, and he always has a plan. And Anansi like nothing better than to eat. Ooh. But Anansi like nothing worse than to work for his food. So this is a story all about Anansi. In Anansi's village, there lived an old witch. And her name was Five. Have you ever heard of anyone called Five before? No, because Five is not a name. Five is a number. Well, all of the people in the village thought it was hilarious that she was called Five. Hey, come quickly. What is it? Here comes that stupid old witch again. What's her name? It's not actually a name, it's a number. Not one, no, not two, no, not three, no, not four, no. It's Five. What a stupid name, I know, and she smells. Well, do you think the witch called Five was happy to be laughed at because of her name? Do you think she was sad to be laughed at because of her name? You think she was angry to be be laughed at because of her name. She wasn't happy. She wasn't sad. She wasn't even angry. She was very angry. How dare you laugh at me because of my lovely name? So the witch called Five, mumble, mumble, double, double, toil and trouble, made a spell, a curse, mumble, mumble. Anyone who said the word five would disappear. Hey, come quickly, come quickly, come quickly. What is it, what is it, what is it? Here comes that stupid old witch again. What's her name? It's not a name, it's a number. It's not 1, no, not 2, no, not 3, no, not 4, no. It's 5. Who? What happened? My friend disappeared when he said the word 5. Well, when Anansi, the Spider-Man, heard about this, he made a plan. When he heard about the curse, he made a cunning plan because he was the original Spider-Man, and he always had a plan. So Anansi went and he got some potatoes. How many potatoes? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll count that again in case you missed it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Anansi took the potatoes and he planted them in the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he went and relaxed in the shade of a tree. And along came an animal. Which animal came along first? Can you guess? Can you guess? It was this one. A dog. And as everybody knows, dogs like to eat meat. And the dog was carrying some meat home for her puppies. And Anansi said, "Dog, dog, it's me, your friend Anansi. I've planted all these potatoes, but I don't know how to count them. But if you count them for me, I'll give you a potato to have with your meat. Nothing goes better than meat and potatoes." And the dog thought, and she said, "Oh, certainly." And she put down her sack of meat, and she turned and looked at the row of potatoes, and she began to count the potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the dog disappeared because of the witch's curse, and Anansi took the sack of meat. Then along came another animal. Which animal came along next, do you think? We had a dog, so it must have been a meow. A cat. And as everybody knows, cats like to eat fish. And the same thing happened. Anansi said, "Cat, cat, it's me, your friend Anansi. I've planted all these potatoes, but I don't know how to count them. But if you count them for me, I'll give you a potato to have with your fish. Then you can have fish and chips." And the cat thought that was a very good idea. So she put down the bag of fish she'd been carrying home for her kittens, and she looked at the row of potatoes, and she counted them with her tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the cat disappeared, and Anansi took the sack of fish and put it with the sack of meat. Then along came another animal. We had a dog, we had a cat, so it must be a bird. A beautiful bird came flying by and landed on a branch. And as everybody knows, birds like to eat seeds. And the bird had a big bag of seeds that she was carrying home to eat all by herself. And Anansi said, Bird, it's me, your friend Anansi. I've planted all these potatoes, but I don't know how to count them. But if you count them for me, I'll give you a potato to have with your seeds. That will be very nutritious. And the bird said, which means that sounds like a good deal. And the bird looked at the row of potatoes and she began to count them. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the bird disappeared, and Anansi took the bag of seeds. Then along came another animal. Which animal came along next? It was a deer. And as everybody knows, deers like to eat leaves. And this deer was carrying home a nice bag of leaves for all the other deers. And Anansi said, Dear, it's me, your friend Anansi. I've planted all these potatoes, but I don't know how to count them. But if you count them for me, I'll give you a potato to have with your leaves. Nothing goes better than potatoes and leaves. And the deer did actually like potatoes and leaves very much. So the deer began to count the potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the deer disappeared, and Anansi took the bag of leaves. Then along came another animal. It was a big animal, and the same thing happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a small animal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a middle-sized animal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Along came a tiny mouse with some cheese, and the same thing happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Anansi took the cheese, and then even along came the great grey elephant with some peanuts, and the same thing happened. The elephant counted the potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until Anansi was sitting on a mountain of sacks and bags of food that he'd taken and tricked out of the other animals. That is, until along came the rabbit. And as everybody knows, rabbits like to eat carrots. And this rabbit had a big bag of carrots she was carrying home for her little bunnies. And Anansi said, Rabbit, it's me, your friend Anansi. I've planted all these potatoes, but I don't know how to count them. But if you'll count them for me, I'll give you a potato to have with your carrots. Then you can make vegetable stew. And the rabbit liked vegetable stew. So she turned and she looked at the potatoes. And she thought and she scratched her head. Then she began to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. But that's not the way you count. Count again. Certainly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. But that's not the way you count, said Anansi, who was now in spider form. Count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. But that's not the way you count. Count again. Certainly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. But that's not the way you count. Count again. Certainly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. That's not the way you count. Count again. Certainly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more. That's not the way you count. Count again. Certainly. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. That's not the way you count. That's not the way you count. This is the way you count. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Anansi disappeared. And the little rabbit took all the sacks of food, the sack of meat, the sack of fish, the sack of seeds, the sack of leaves, all the sacks of food, the cheese from the mouse, the peanuts from the elephant, even the carrots and those potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more, and she ran home to her bunnies. And that is the end of the story of Anansi and Five. Now I'm going to show you how to make some of the hand shadow animals that Anansi met. So take your right hand, have a little practice at opening and closing your fingers like this. And if your hand gets tired, give it a little shake. Now this is a very good exercise. Make a fist, because many of the hand shadows need your fingers to be closed together, like this. Your thumb is the dog's ear, and your index finger is the dog's eye. Then your little finger is the dog's mouth, like that. And that's how you make the dog. If you can't move the little finger without this finger following like that, have a little practice holding these fingers like that, so you can strengthen the muscle. Now the next animal Anansi met was the cat, which I make with my left hand. So curl your fingers in to make a fist, also a good exercise, and then poke up your little finger and your index finger and move your thumb inside like that. That is the cat's head. And then you put your hand at the bottom and wiggle your middle finger of your right hand to make the cat's tail, like that. Now the next animal Anansi met was the bird. And the bird needs both hands to make it fly. Fingers like this, thumbs up, cross your hands over, and there is the bird having a nice fly. And practice moving the wings like this and like this, and maybe just gliding as well. That's it. Then the next animal Anansi met, what was it? Can you remember? It was a deer. That's right, good. Deer is very, very simple, and you can do 2 deers at once. So your 2 middle fingers go down to your thumb, and there's the deer. Now if you want to be a little bit more advanced, you can bring in this finger to make the eye. So there you can see the deer's got a little pupil to its eye, like that. That's the deer. Now Anansi the Spider-Man, if we go back to our bird position and cross over, like that. Open the fingers, drop the thumbs, and bend the fingers to make a spider. That's Anansi the Spider-Man. The 2 little people in the village, take your hands, turn them upside down, and your thumbs will be the mouths. You need to make a little bit of a nose with your middle finger, and then your little finger makes hair or possibly a little hat, and those are the 2 people. Then you can have a little conversation with them. Now, if you would like to see how to make the rabbit, you'll have to watch the other Birdhouse Adventures in Art video, which is called Magic Shadow Trick. Because in that video, I show you how to make the rabbit. You may have learned it already, you may have seen that video first. So, time for you to practice. Remember to keep checking our YouTube channel, Birdhouse Adventures in Art, for new videos, and look for us on Facebook at Birdhouse Theatre. It only remains for me to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.